Hello everyone and welcome back, Dace here. Risk System is a game that had remained entirely off my radar until recently, and when I saw it for the first time, it was an automatic purchase without a second thought. The artwork, setting, and gameplay immediately piqued my interest, but I had no idea how strongly the game would suck me in once I started playing. I'm not kidding when I say I didn't touch anything else for a week straight, nor did I want to. I ended up loving Risk System so much and was shocked to find only a small handful of videos covering the game on YouTube. After exploring everything it offered and noticing my passion grow with each play session, it was evident this title deserved what little spotlight I could offer. So today we'll be taking an in-depth look at Risk System in my review of the Nintendo Switch version. With all that out of the way, let's get into this. Risk System is a horizontal 2D side-scrolling STG developed by Chris Ekins and Chris Anderson, with the PS4, PS5, and Switch versions being published by HiddenTrap. The earliest form of the game was actually made in 2011, and at the time it was designed as a vertical scroller, with a demo including a fair amount of the core ideas. After returning to the project in 2017, Chris Ekins decided a horizontal orientation would serve the game's overall appearance and feeling better, since greater emphasis could be placed on the ship's speed and force. Furthermore, he felt the bullets would be perceived as a greater threat and that the experience would be felt much more closely by the player. After seeing a screenshot of the original game's vertical state, I feel the horizontal approach was the best way to go. The story takes place in the distant future. Humanity has made a revolutionary discovery allowing the replication of matter by harnessing the power of a dimensional gate. However, a few years after this event, parasitic creatures disguised as replicated matter travel through the gate and enslave humankind. The RSK-9, an experimental ship designed to absorb the parasite's energy for use against them, is constructed out of sheer desperation, and it's up to one young woman to save humanity from extinction. This young woman is none other than Elise Matovia, a skilled pilot that had been missing for some time and, oddly enough, appears to be the only person immune to the parasitic effects. But will she have what it takes to see things through to a successful end? That depends on your skills once in the pilot's seat. The entirety of Risk System's gameplay revolves around a unique blend of aerial maneuvers and razor-sharp grazing. In fact, it's one of the most fun and engaging graze shmups I've ever played. The RSK-9 fires a thin stream of shots when facing an enemy. The default is set to automatic, so you never need to fire. This may rub some players a certain way, but the more I played, the more it made sense not to be the one controlling the shots. If I'm being honest, I think it would massively take away from the experience and how awesome everything feels. You can perform upward and downward barrel rolls, and if doing these while grazing, your firepower is amplified. You may also graze in one spot without moving to increase your damage output. The more you graze, the faster your B meter fills, which is located in the bottom right corner of the screen. It fills automatically but at a very slow rate. Once full, however, you may activate a powerful attack called the Barrier Breaker. This attack will destroy almost every enemy on screen, including ones in the background, but most medium and large-sized enemies require multiple activations before they drop. Bosses have a visible health bar spanning the top of the screen. While you can technically whittle them down with just your standard shot, becoming proficient at grazing will allow more frequent use of the Barrier Breaker, which chews into their health like there's no tomorrow. The RSK-9 also uses a health or shield bar found in the bottom left corner. Despite only having a maximum of 3 shields to work with for the whole game, enemies destroyed by a graze amplified attack or Barrier Breaker will drop shield energy, so you can always top yourself up. The game plays out over 5 main stages, each ending with a boss fight, as in most shmups. A 6th mission is accessible if ranking A or higher in every level. Unlike the preceding stages, this isn't a full-blown level, but an encounter against the true last boss. We have a wonderful assortment of enemies, which I'll touch on shortly, and all sorts of cool attacks spanning the boss fights. The controls are super smooth, but like anything, it takes getting used to. The first time I played, it felt like my movements were overshooting, but after the first day there was no better feeling, and I came to thoroughly enjoy how the game plays. As you begin ranking higher and or clear all of the stages, additional content is unlocked, including personal files revealing information on the characters and a score-based mode where you play with a different ship and pilot. These can all be found on the main menu alongside the leaderboards and game options. We begin stage 1, racing above the shimmering sunlit surface of a large body of water. The vast blue sky hangs high above, filled with white fluffy clouds, and the silhouette of a mountain range trails along in the distance. A massive military vessel makes its way up to join others lining the area. Seeing this aircraft descend is one of my favorite things about this stage, and we get such a great feeling of the distance between these large ships and how much area the entire fleet must cover. Small airborne drones soon begin filtering into view to engage in combat, and some even fly up from the watery depths to attack. Before long, we are met by the first of two missile-like enemies in the background that offer some incredible animations. At first, it looks as though it's casually cruising along, but then once it has caught up to us, it slows, opening hatches and firing huge spheres of energy. If observing the launch of these destructive orbs, you can see them curve from the background to the foreground, and I'm blown away by how awesome this looks. Every single time I play Stage 1, I lap up this animation and the spinning sections near the tail end of these foes. We eventually come to the stage end boss fight where we face off against Ashley Ruby, pilot of the Tempest Operative. I've always been really into mechanical orb-like bosses, and this is no exception. The moving components on the craft's exterior are stellar to watch, and the fight itself is a blast, and only gets better the more aggressively you play. This game is completely loaded with cool things to discover. One really fascinating detail I stumbled upon during my sessions was that using your barrier breaker attack before the fight actually begins triggers a different dialogue. If doing this, Ashley mentions how you must be in a hurry, and a significant portion of her health bar will already be gone once the battle commences. She has attacks similar to what the drones fire and also shoots out large energy spheres. Her craft can also go underwater to initiate a massive offensive maneuver that provides a single safe spot directly above. No matter how many times I would restart during my 1cc practice sessions, I never got tired of returning to Stage 1. Out of all the shmups I've played, this is easily one of the most incredible opening stages I've ever experienced. It's like you're really there amidst the all-encompassing beauty of this pristine natural environment, speeding through the vast blue, machine-filled sky of the distant future. It's genuinely captivating, and my imagination flies high with this kind of stuff. In Stage 2, we find ourselves flying along the side of a cliff, mid-storm. Rain falls heavily and lightning periodically illuminates the dark sky. We're soon met by drones that connect to each other with lasers before entering a long tunnel. I like this stage a lot because everything starts off dark, and you're not really sure what kind of place this is. But things become more clear as light is gradually introduced. In many games, stages will start off at full brightness and never change. I have an immense appreciation for how things were handled here. By revealing the stage's appearance in a more drawn-out way, it's almost as though it's coming alive, or that we're flying deep into an enemy area buzzing with activity, and that's obviously the case with the foes we'll encounter. I love the slanted support beams and the white light that races along the wall in the background. Plus, we see some really cool robots in this stage, including the drones that spin in a circle and the floor and ceiling enemies that create vertical lasers. This tripped me up quite a bit when I first started playing because I was constantly attempting to charge my barrier breaker to destroy them while maintaining a safe distance. An oversight on my part, as I eventually realized that I could simply use the barrel rolls to amplify my firepower. This became one of the most fun parts of the stage, whereas initially it was frantic and intimidating. Where Stage 1 had the missile-like enemies in the background, Stage 2 has these ground-based metal hulks storming along beside us as they target our ship with a lock-on attack. Destroying them looks amazing because they explode and scroll out of sight, yet the explosion's light lingers for a short period. I can just imagine this massive heap of wreckage losing momentum before coming to an abrupt smoldering stop as we speed on ahead. Not long after, we enter a bright haze and appear in a section with massive columns in the background and pipes covering the floor and ceiling. Here we meet Val Howler Wen, Ashley's romantic partner with whom she has a mental connection. She senses Ashley is no longer living and wants us to defeat her. Val pilots the Strider Magnus, which reminds me of the Stage 1 rail boss in Devil Engine. This boss has some great looking attacks to lap up, including crisscrossing lasers, big energy spheres, and a big shot fired into the background, which explodes, requiring the player to find a safe spot. Stage 3 offers an extraordinarily rich background bursting with a radiant color. Rain beats down upon the layered mountainous landscape as spots of light flash here and there in the sky. We're in the middle of a bombardment, and the wavering effect rippling through the air and fiery colors have it feeling like a complete war zone. Where the first two stages introduce enemies at a fairly casual pace, Stage 3 unleashes a full force of foes to contend with from start to finish. In this level, we face off against flat and narrow fighters that first appear in the background before circling into position to attack. With a fully charged barrier breaker, you can wipe out loads of these fighters before they even enter the playable area, and I think this is such a cool feature to include, given the nature of our powerful attack. Furthermore, small drones pop up every so often, and we also see shielded pod-like ships that fire a triple shot straight ahead and deploy drones. The background enemy in this stage is another missile-like foe with a fascinating design and cool-looking front section that spins. At the stage's end, we meet Walsh, who makes a unique appearance that initially threw me off due to how his ship arrives on the scene. It drops down and you really can't make out what it is until the craft moves into position to reveal its pincer-like design. His ship is an airborne mining mech called the Schwarzgeist. He opens with a thick laser blast and spins the entire attack as he moves from side to side. It took some figuring out, but there are times when it's safe to cross over the beam depending on your position. I think this is a fantastic implementation for a boss fight. Volsh also launches energy spheres and has a targeting attack that fills the whole screen but offers safe spots between the blast points. What I like about the character interactions is that the game doesn't bog you down with loads of talking. Volsh is a great example of this because when he is defeated, he offers a single line before his ship explodes. Stage 4 plunges us into the midst of tall, futuristic-looking towers and a city spanning the background. Night is approaching and we encounter the Mammoth, a sizable floating enemy equipped with rapid-fire targeting weapons. If observing closely, you can see vibrating sections giving off a great impression that this is one huge beast rumbling through the air. I also like watching the sprite shift as it turns to follow your position. We also go up against various attack drones and see a couple of groups that look like robotic coconuts, or at least that's what I want them to be. A massive glowing portal rests at the end of the stage, and after passing through, we find ourselves in an asteroid field orbiting a planet lined with light. It's a pretty epic location, and it's here we fight Shess Kyra and her mech Gorgon. This enemy unit launches bouncing energy balls and has a powerful dash attack that can come from either left or right. Partway through the battle, Shess will begin performing a dive attack with damaging orbs trailing her sides. It's a fierce and fun boss fight that can feel frantic if your health is dangerously low. Stage 5 begins with the RSK-9 entering a distant planet's atmosphere where gate-replicated materials are stored. I love getting to this level because there are some truly wicked machines patrolling the area. Two of my favorites in the entire game are the massive dark ships that cruise along in the background while targeting you, and the three-pronged spinning drones that shoot rings of expanding energy outward. They also have a technique where they pull your ship toward them, and I couldn't tell you the last time I experienced that sensation in a game. It's not just the enemies and the action that unfolds, but the background art that sets everything off. The green and yellow colors making up the sky are such a delight, and I'm very intrigued by the objects floating in long rows stretching off into the distance. When we entered the stage, our ship appeared to bounce off of an invisible barrier, and I like to imagine the stationary objects generating this protective field. If this was the intention, it speaks volumes about the creativity and presentation, since I can think of very few STGs offering this kind of experience. In most games, you're just suddenly flying in the next stage and there's nothing more to it, so seeing this additional animation is a nice touch. After blasting our way through enemy forces, we reach a large sphere-shaped mechanical guard possessing a vicious set of attacks. It initiates a destructive energy barrier around itself, fires large orbs, and performs a dash attack while firing shots up and down, which then change direction. Like the Tempest Operative, this boss has lots of moving parts and is always enjoyable to see in action. After bringing it down, a craft known as the Albatross appears in the background, piloted by Lila Matovia, Elisa's sister. Furthermore, the dimensional gate we are meant to destroy is now attached to Lila's ship, and moments later, the two sisters engage in battle. This showdown spans multiple phases, offering a wide range of attacks that will test your maneuvering skills. We have everything from normal shots, energy rings, targeting attacks, swinging orbs, a massive charged attack, and even a burst you need to hide from. This fight is such a thrilling ride, it's not even funny. Once the gate is destroyed, the Albatross receives an energy overload, and Lila transports Elise deep into the Parasite's dimension for the final mission. As mentioned earlier, this is not a stage we run through, but it is one mind-blowing true last boss fight that will have you on edge every step of the way. We face off against one of the energy parasites, and the attacks thrown at us are over-the-top riveting. The battle begins with numerous energy rings being fired off, and if you don't charge your barrier breaker fast enough, you won't even survive long enough to see the second attack. For this, energy orbs are flung outward, followed by massive energy beams that rotate around the parasite's body. This attack is another instance where you have to charge a full meter before running out of space, which can get intense. The pressure doesn't let up there though. The parasite sends out a colossal sphere that slowly moves across the screen while small drones with an organic appearance exit from the parasite's body and dart about the area. This boss also has a giant energy blast that pulls you in, and this is exhilarating because you're quite literally on the edge, spinning wildly to ensure you don't get sucked into the attack. Other than that, there's an attack that charges up to strike you while more drones teleport into existence. All in all, it's an astounding fight that looks and feels amazing and is the most climactic way to polish off this epic experience. I wasn't sure where to mention this, but since we've covered a significant chunk of information, I'll drop the bomb here. Risk System throws an exciting twist our way. When I did Mission 6 without taking a hit, I gained access to the last character file and the missing parts of Elise's file. Using the files and story hints, plus having Chris confirm it so that I had things accurate for this review, we learned that the Elise you've been playing as is not the original, but an imperfect copy generated when she entered the gate previously and was killed. This explains why the Elise we know is immune to the parasite's controlling effect. If bringing down the true last boss, we trigger an ending where the copy is driving down a highway in her hovercar on a sunny day. While she may not be the original Elise, she recognizes that they share the same memories, and the future is wide open for her, as it would have been for the original. This is incredibly heartwarming. Risk System unloads a decent challenge, and at first it can feel hectic and messy, but before long you'll be rolling through the skies with ease. One of the greatest and most fun challenges was shifting from a more traditional mode into the Risk System mode. Instead of lining up with enemies to fire at them, you're asking yourself, what group of enemies can I barrel roll across to destroy them all while landing in a safe spot between other shots so that I can graze barrel roll again? I love some of the attacks because you're really thinking about where you need to be 1 to 2 seconds in the future instead of simply dodging standard patterns. During the Albatross fight, a great example can be observed where you have to avoid moving targeted attacks simultaneously with charging targeted attacks. I think Risk System is fantastic for dishing out compounding pressure through the use of attacks you can see with your eyes, and attacks you need to gauge with your ears while they get closer and closer to going off. It's such a great combination and was done very well. Until things clicked, another challenge for me was the true last boss. I would often take 2 hits to the energy orbs, leaving me in the worst shape for the rest of the fight. I eventually decided to explore the available space for a safe spot and was relieved to discover an area near the bottom. In this spot, you could not only remain unharmed, but also spin numerous times, dealing additional damage in the process. This discovery was game-changing because an attack that comes later would always hit me, and normally only having 1 health left at that point meant I always got a game over. After putting my newly discovered method to use, I banged out the TLB on the second attempt, which was a joyous occasion. Mission rank is essentially determined by how well you play. To achieve a higher rank, you'll want to take little to no damage, destroy most enemies, maintain a high combo, and destroy bosses quickly. These specifications and the tutorial notes are found in the pilot manual on the main menu. Scoring appears to be fairly straightforward. We gain points from destroying enemies and benefit greatly by building and maintaining a high combo rate. Collecting excess shield energy from destroyed enemies increases our score multiplier as well. We also receive a stage end bonus for our sortie rating, target execution, and pilot rating. If I'm going to be completely transparent, I didn't pay any attention to my score because my focus was purely on the blissful gameplay, but oddly enough I still hit 2nd place on the leaderboards when I secured my first all clear. The music in Risk System is both subtle and flawless, which combines perfectly with the overall journey. Each stage's track captures an underlying mood without being in your face, and it's something I marvel over constantly while playing. In ways, it's calm and inspiring. The Stage 1 music is easily a favorite. It possesses a quality that fills me with excitement for racing through the endless blue sky. Stage 2's track keeps things rolling beautifully as we race through the tunnel, and interestingly enough, Stage 3's music reminds me of tabla rhythm. It's always interesting to observe how music speaks to us, and Stage 5 is another favorite as it evokes a delicious mixture of feelings. This track emits a pressure to play very well. Through the music, you sense something's coming that'll require everything you've got. The sound effects are ridiculously good in this game. I always love blowing up background enemies because the explosion sound is so well done and satisfying. I love the sound the Albatross makes when you cancel its charge-up attack. However, one of the absolute best is the machine gun style sound when barrel rolling against enemy fire to amplify your attack. Hearing this produces a jaw-droppingly satisfying feeling because you know you're ripping deep into enemies with a cutting rain of bullets. The voice acting is stellar. I really liked hearing the exchanges before and after battles, and was delighted to learn that some of the characters were voiced by Chris and Lauren Ekins. While I love Risk System to no end, I feel there were a few areas that could have received a little more attention. I also want to share some ideas I think would be neat for future games like this. First, the circling drones in Stage 2 could have been more engaging if their circle expanded and retracted. It would add greater complexity if players had to weave between shifting circles, or if some of the drones were even indestructible. The Stage 2 lasers could have also been explored more, perhaps with some spinning slowly while others spin faster. Maybe even large energy spheres or beams that grow to a massive size before shrinking. Awkward diagonal positions could be used too. But I recognize that while I may think something sounds great in theory, it may not have meshed well with the gameplay flow they wanted to provide. Unless I somehow completely missed it, I noticed that there was no stage selection for those who like to practice specific stages without needing to play up to that point in the run. One idea I feel would align with the risk factor is to have an alternate ship or mode where you heal by grazing. It's one thing to know you can deal more damage when grazing, but I can only imagine the pressure players might feel if they're one hit away from being toast, but know they can heal if they get close enough to enemy fire. It's such a beautiful risk to weigh on the spot when you know you don't have much time to think in the first place. I don't want to drag things on with countless ideas, but there is one more that might suit nicely. A short duration of slow motion. With the incredible maneuvering and risk system, it would be amazing to see some of these slowed down. Perhaps they could activate once a full meter of some sort is spent, or by using a collected item on screen that you grabbed right at the last second. This could be a compelling addition to the already tight visuals and gameplay. In conclusion, Risk System is a brilliant creation that's left me both completely satisfied with the experience and desperately craving more adventures with our fierce and level-headed protagonist. I would love to learn more about the copy of Elise in a future story, and I think there's just as much potential for exploring her past someday. Either way, the Risk System universe is clearly screaming for a second installment. On that note, Chris Ekins has informed me that a sequel is in the works, taking place a few hundred years after the first game's events, and it expands upon the established mechanics. In any event, this title is a major highlight for me, and I'm thankful to have it in my collection. We're given an intriguing story with a great futuristic setting conveyed through captivating artwork. The gameplay is fun, engaging, intense, and provides the best kind of rush the deeper you go. Risk System dishes out a solid dose of music and sound effects, and I can honestly say it's left a massive impression on me with nothing but excitement for more. When I clear a game, I'm often ready to move on, but there's an inner drive to continue playing and improve with this one, so that's noteworthy. If a physical version of the game ever released for Switch, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. At a little over $10 digitally, this is a must-buy without question. Anyway, that's where we're leaving things off for now. If you've played Risk System before, let me know what you think of it in the comments. Or, if this review inspired you to pick it up, feel free to share your thoughts once you've jumped in. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider flinging a like our way and subscribe to keep your days STG infused. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.